Today's show is all about the latest Detroit Lions news and rumors for you folks today. We're going to get in the latest of DJ Reader. Health update. He spoke to the media. Lions signed a player. What does that player bring to the Lions? The NFC projection win-loss total, where the Lions stack at, and 5 wide receivers that the Lions could look to target, whether it be a trade or if they get released. That is the rumors for those said players. But before we do that, the One Pride podcast is going to be moved to noon now. So it's going to be on Thursday at noon. And on noon on Saturday, we're doing the preseason live watch party, Lions and Steelers. Let's get this thing started right now. DJ Reader spoke to the media about his health and when potentially he could be ready to show up and play in practice for the Detroit Lions. This is what he said. He says, kind of had a lull in like June where things just weren't shaking the way I really thought it would. So I ended up having to get a scope. All I really know is work. I don't really know anything else, Reader said. I've always kind of been, if I decide to do something, I'm going to just go ahead and do it. Just show up every day and know that every day is a step forward, not a step backward. That's just the kind of how I approach it. Times table, he says he's feeling good, but he doesn't have a specific time when potentially he could be ready. Now, look, the Lions got about 3 weeks until they face the Rams. Obviously, he's not going to be practicing on the field, but if he can be able to go week 1, that would be fantastic. He's still on the PUP list, hasn't been taken off of that, but if he can't go, Levi and Wuzurike should be ready to go to really step in. But look, you want to have Reader on here because he is just a boss in the run game. So I got a question for you really quick. Will DJ Reader be ready for week 1? Why for yes and for no? Let's get into the next subject here, and we're talking about a player whom the Detroit Lions just signed here, and that is Joel Iguabunwe. 6'1", 229 pounds, 32-inch arms, drafted in 2018, 4th round, pick 15 out of Western Kentucky, 28-year-old linebacker who's going to try to help this roster out a little bit. What did he do for a career so far? Well, he's had 26 solo tackles, a combined of 31, 0 sacks, and he's played in 65 games. This is per Lions Wire. Jeff Risson. The Lions are signing linebacker Joel Iguabunwe, a 2018 4th-round pick by the Chicago Bears out of Western Kentucky. The 28-year-old has 65 games and NFL experience between the Bears and the Panthers franchise. It was mostly with the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL. Iguabunwe has played almost exclusively on special teams throughout his NFL career. He has racked up 1,300 snaps on punt and kick units, but saw the field for less than 50 defensive snaps in his 5 active NFL seasons. What does this mean? I do think he is just a camp body. With that said, we've seen how bad the special teams coverage unit has been, so maybe he can somehow jump on here and make this team. I still think it's extreme long shot, so I'm going with camp body. But grade the signing of Joel Iguabunwe, A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you wanting to get some cheap Lions tickets where you can watch the game, even though we hear it sold all the time? Then you need to get Game Time. Game Time has killer deals, last-minute tickets, and lowest prices guaranteed, and you can stop stressing and start getting hyped for the fun that you're going to have. It is easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, whether that's sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, or whatever. Their lowest prices guaranteed. That is the Game Time guaranteed, which means you're always getting the best prices, and if you find tickets in the same area section or less, Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. You can get exclusive flash deals for tickets for football, baseball, basketball, concerts, and more. And in the middle screenshot, by the way, I think it's a fantastic feature of the app. It shows you where your seat is. If you move your phone left to right, you can see the surrounding area like a 3D live photo. So Download Game Time, plug in Chat Sports, and you're going to get $20 off your very first purchase. Again, download Game Time, go to the redeem code section, plug in Chat Sports, and you're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. You got to create an account. You got to have an email to save that money. The link is going to be in the comment section and description of this video. If you are buying Lions tickets this year, make sure using Game Time. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So Simulator came out when they do the win total for each team, and they did the NFC out there, and shockingly, I think the Lions are better projections than what I even expected here. So this is the win-loss total. They have San Francisco sitting at 11-4. I don't know how you go 11.4 wins, but that's what they have right there. And when you look at the San Francisco 49ers, 11 wins just seems in the realm. I would take the over there. Has the line sitting at number 2 at 10.5. Again, I'm going to take the over. I think they're more 11 to 12 win team, but it just shows that even simulations, and it counts for many different aspects of the game, that the Lions are good. Philadelphia below the Lions, Dallas below Philadelphia, Green Bay, then Atlanta, Los Angeles, New Orleans Saints, Seattle Seahawks, and the Bears sitting at 8-1. And it goes all the way down to about 6 wins, where you have the Giants, Carolina Panthers, and even the Minnesota Vikings, who are rolling up in the rear. And I look, you can't really go by simulation, right? Simulation is just simulation. But with that said, it's just another factor, I guess, of the Lions getting some love there, right? So I got a question for you. How many wins will the Detroit Lions have in 2024? Give me your win-loss total in the comments below. Next, we're going to be talking about players who potentially could be on the move, whether it be getting cut from a team and or trade. And there was 5 wide receivers I was kind of shocked to see. Seeing it from Pride of Detroit, as well as other numerous sites of players from other teams that could be on the move. So we're just going to get into these players right now. The first one was absolutely shocked here was John Mechie III, 24 years old, 5'11", 189 pounds, drafted in round 2 and 22, 12 pick. And this is what he's done in preseason so far: 8 receptions, 79 yards, 1 touchdown, and 9.9 average. The rumor has that he potentially could not make the 53-man roster. Now, I have a hard time believing that. But if the Lions are wanting to get a wide receiver, and that's what the rumor is, right, the Lions could make a trade. And John Mechie, look, he's not the type of guy that you're expecting. You want to get the taller receiver. I think that's what they're looking for. So I think it's an extreme long shot for the Lions to even look at John Mechie. But he is a target. And look, any wide receiver at this point, if you're the Lions, you're looking, okay, who's going to get released? Is there a potential like a trade, maybe a 7th-round pick or something for a player? And he came up on the list, even though I think it's unlikely with him. The next player on the list is someone who I've been talking about for a while, and I think a lot of people have as well. That's Robert Woods, the wide receiver, again, from the Houston Texans. They're deep at wide receiver, and this is why there's 2 of them on this list. 6 foot tall, 201 pounds, 32, drafted in 23 in round 2. Robert Woods, so far this preseason, 4 receptions, 42 yards, 0 touchdowns, 10.5 average. He's 32 years old, but he's still got some fuel left in his tank. He does, in my opinion. I think he's a guy that could really help out the Detroit Lions in a pinch. Maybe he gets released. I think that's probably what's going to happen with him. I mean, you could do like a conditional 7th-round pick or something like to secure it. But he is a receiver still producing. He's a veteran. He's a guy who you want to have in the locker room, right? He's a locker room guy. And most importantly, he's already had the connection with Jared Goff. He's played with Jared Goff with the Rams. This could be an ideal situation for a lack of that wide receiver 4. You can go ahead and get Robert Woods. And I think that the Lions would be doing their offense good with a signing or a deal like this, just depending. He would make the Lions, number 4 wide receiver situation much less of a situation. And it's not necessarily having a guy on here who's going to be on game day all the time, but what if there is an injury? At least you have another guy that you can utilize in the pass game, and that's something that I just want to see. We're so close, I feel like, to potentially, make it a Super Bowl. You want to have all the T's crossed and the I's dotted. So I got a question for you. Do you think the Lions need another wide receiver? 1 for yes, right? Or N for no? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Next wide receiver that potentially could be on the move or cut, that's Treylon Burks, another young wide receiver, 24 years old, drafted in 2022 in round 1, pick 18, 6'2", 224 so far in preseason, 1 receptions, 12 yards, 0 touchdowns, an average of 12. He is the guy, I think, if you're going to do a trade, right, I think this potentially could be a good option. He's the bigger wide receiver, the physical build, and with his lack of production that he has done, he is a player that may not, if you're to trade for him, it's going to be low end of the spectrum. And if you do trade for him, you do still have the 5th-year option because he is a round 1 pick. So that could be an option there. Or if he's cut, it just makes a lot of sense. I know the production hasn't been as good for him throughout the years, but maybe giving him a Jared Goff would help him out. Next, wide receiver that potentially could be on move. I was absolutely stunned to see this. I don't know if it's real, but I've seen the rumors from now multiple people. That's Jahan Dotson, another young wide receiver, 5'11", 181 pounds, 24 years old. He's drafted just in 2022, pick 16. So far in preseason, 3 receptions, 16 yards, 0 touchdowns, 5.3. They're saying that he's a cut candidate. I have a hard time believing that he'd be a cut candidate. So many teams out there that needs wide receivers. I can see a situation where teams trade for him. With that said, again, this is more of the John Mechie thing. Look, he's a talented player. It's just hard for me to think that the Lions would be able to get him. It really is. It's hard for me to think that the Commanders would trade him. So we'll see what happens going forward. That I still think it's a long shot. Last wide receiver on the list here is Traquan Thornton from the New England Patriots, 6'2", 183 pounds, 24 years old, drafted in 2022, pick 18. He's so far done nothing this year. Now, he is a player that could get cut 100%, may not even need to make a trade for him. Look, he is the size and the stature. He's underwhelming, and he's been underwhelming, and we've had issues with players from Patriots, and Patriots have issues with wide receivers. So I think this would be like a last-ditch option. I'd rather go with other players on this list, but he is a player that potentially the Lions could pick up if cut, or, again, maybe a player swap, right? A player trade, low-end trade when teams are cutting down, that type of thing right there. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these guys. Would you trade for anybody? Would you not? With that said, folks, adios.